In the city of Enugu, a dangerous storm began to brew in 2023, one that would soon turn the streets restless and uneasy. It all started when whispers spread that members of the Blackaxe had launched what many believed to be retaliatory strikes against their longtime rivals, the Vikings. Earlier that same year, both groups had been involved in a heated confrontation that left one young Blackaxe member, popularly known as T-Boy, lifeless. His fall sent shockwaves through the confraternity underworld, and tensions in Enugu began to rise once again. Months later, strange attacks started to occur around the city, with several Viking members reportedly being targeted. It didn't take long before suspicion fell squarely on the Blackaxe, as the Vikings believed the assaults were revenge for T-Boy's death. The first major incident took place in Emene, a busy area on the outskirts of Enugu. A young man believed to be a Viking member was ambushed late in the evening. He was left severely injured but miraculously managed to survive. The Vikings quickly pointed fingers at the Blackaxe, accusing them of being behind the attack. However, members of the Blackaxe strongly denied any involvement, claiming they were being wrongly blamed. Not long after, the tension escalated. In what appeared to be a counteraction, the Vikings struck back at a Blackaxe member known on the streets as Success. The attack happened right there in Emene, the same area where the earlier incident had taken place. Fortunately, Success survived, though the attack left him shaken and the entire confraternity on high alert. Just when many thought the situation would cool off, tragedy struck again. A very popular Viking member known as the Bull, or Bulldog as some called him, was attacked and lost his life in New Haven, one of Enugu's busiest areas. The Bull was well known among his peers, a respected figure in the Viking circle. His fall sent waves of anger through the group, and once again, the Vikings accused the Blackaxe of being responsible. The Blackaxe members, however, came out to distance themselves from the incident, insisting they had no hand in it. They argued that the attack on the Bull might have been connected to a personal matter or even a business dispute gone wrong. Yet, the Vikings refused to believe this version of events. They saw it as another hit from their rivals, a continuation of the long-standing feud. The atmosphere in Enugu grew darker by the day. The Viking hit squad, furious and determined to avenge their fallen brother, mobilized and hit the streets. Their first target was a Blackaxe member in a place known as New Layout. The man was attacked and didn't survive. But it didn't stop there. The Vikings moved again, this time to an area called Coca, where another member of the Blackaxe was cornered and attacked. This marked yet another turn in the cycle of revenge that was beginning to spiral out of control. By the end of that year, fear had already gripped many parts of Enugu. The series of back-and-forth attacks had turned once busy neighborhoods into quiet, tense zones where residents kept to themselves and avoided staying out late. What began as retaliation for one man's death had grown into a chain of bloodshed and suspicion, with both groups denying, accusing, and retaliating in a cycle that seemed to have no end. As the tension in Emene continued to build, the violence soon began to spread beyond that area. What started as a local clash was now stretching to other parts of Enugu State, with each side determined to prove dominance. Before long, the situation took a more dangerous turn as the conflict shifted towards a place known as Nsuka. It was there that a former military officer, widely known by his street name Bim-Bim, was attacked and lost his life. According to reports, Bim-Bim was not just an ordinary man, he was said to be a member of the Blackaxe Confraternity and had a reputation that made him well known around Enugu. His fall was believed to be the work of members of the Supreme Vikings Confraternity, marking yet another blow in the escalating feud between the two groups. Only a few days after Bim-Bim's death, another incident shook the city. A young man who operated a POS, point of sale, business was attacked right in front of a popular hotel known as Cubana. The young man was well known in the area as a hardworking individual trying to earn a living. However, the Vikings claimed he was secretly affiliated with the Blackaxe, accusing him of being part of their rival group. Members of the Blackaxe, on the other hand, completely denied this claim. They insisted the young POS operator had nothing to do with them and was only a victim of mistaken identity. The news of the attack spread quickly across Enugu, leaving many residents shocked and uneasy. Not long after, reports surfaced that another Blackaxe member had been taken down in a different part of Enugu State. Sources claimed that this incident was carried out by the Vikings as revenge for a previous attack that took place earlier in January of that same year, an attack in which a Viking member had lost his life. The cycle of retribution was becoming more dangerous, and the once bustling areas of Enugu were slowly turning into tension-filled zones where people moved cautiously and avoided staying out late. After several weeks of back-and-forth strikes, there was a sudden pause in the violence. Both groups seemed to have gone quiet, and for a brief moment, it looked as though peace talks or internal negotiations might be in motion. The residents of Enugu began to breathe a little easier, believing the storm had finally passed. But that peace didn't last. Out of nowhere, the Blackaxe hit squad reportedly resurfaced, striking hard in a place known as Coal Camp, one of the densely populated areas of Enugu. Their target was a man named Eh-Meka, a serving military officer who was also said to be a known Viking member. His death sent a strong message that the conflict was far from over. The aftermath of the attack on Eh-Meka was chaotic. Security operatives quickly flooded Coal Camp, and patrol teams from the anti-cultism unit were deployed to the area to prevent further violence. For days, the entire neighborhood remained tense, with residents afraid to move about freely. However, despite the increased security presence, the Vikings still struck again. This time, they targeted a young man they believed to be a member of the Blackaxe, attacking him in the same Coal Camp area. Yet again, the Blackaxe Confraternity strongly denied knowing the victim, claiming he had no connection with them whatsoever. Their denial created even more confusion, as no one could tell who was truly involved and who was simply caught in the middle of the growing chaos. The situation eventually attracted more attention from law enforcement. After several investigations and community tips, 3 suspected Blackaxe members were arrested by the police. The authorities claimed the arrests were linked to the killing of Eh-Meka, the military officer and Viking member. These arrests intensified the already heated atmosphere in Enugu, with both groups becoming more cautious but still distrustful of one another. By this time, many parts of the state were on edge. What began as isolated clashes had turned into a series of targeted attacks and counterattacks that left residents living in constant fear. Businesses started closing earlier than usual, night activities reduced drastically, and people avoided gatherings or loud conversations about confraternities. The once lively neighborhoods of Enugu had now become shadows of their former selves, trapped in the echoes of a conflict that seemed to have no clear end in sight. After months of unrest and bloodshed, word began to spread across Enugu that a peace talk was being planned between members of the Supreme Vikings Confraternity and the Blackaxe. Many hoped this would finally bring an end to the constant tension that had left several neighborhoods on edge. Elders, community leaders, and even some former confraternity members quietly supported the move, believing it was time for the young men to lay down their arms and allow peace to return to the city. However, when the peace initiative reached both groups, it was met with strong opposition. The Vikings, in particular, vehemently rejected the idea. Their reason was clear: they could not forget or forgive the killing of Eh-Meka, the military officer who was also a Viking member, at Coal Camp. To them, the wound was still fresh. Sitting down to talk peace with those they believed were behind Eh-Meka's death felt impossible. When the Vikings rejected the peace proposal, the Blackaxe also pulled out of the discussion. They claimed there was no need for dialogue if the other side wasn't willing to come to the table in good faith. With both groups walking away from the talks, Enugu residents feared what was coming next. The tension that had briefly calmed began to rise once again, and it didn't take long before violence returned to the streets. The first to strike were members of the Blackaxe. They targeted a young man in Emene, believing he was a member of the Vikings. The attack caught everyone by surprise and immediately sent panic across the community. But soon after, the Vikings released a statement through some of their members denying that the young man was one of them. According to them, the victim was not a member of their confraternity but rather a younger brother to one of their members. This revelation brought a deep sense of sadness and fear to many. It appeared that the young man had been mistaken for his brother or had simply been seen with him on several occasions, which made the attackers assume he was part of the group. This tragic incident served as a painful reminder that in the world of confraternities, the consequences often extend beyond the members themselves. Even family members and close friends can become unintended victims simply because of association. In retaliation, the Viking hit squad quickly went on the move. They carried out an attack on another young man who they believed was part of the Blackaxe Confraternity. The strike reignited full-blown chaos in Enugu once again, and people began to fear that the worst was yet to come. The conflict soon spread to a major area known as 9th Mile, one of the busiest parts of Enugu State. There, the Blackaxe hit squad reportedly launched a violent attack that targeted 3 men believed to be Viking members. The incident was intense. 2 of the victims lost their lives instantly, while the third managed to survive with serious injuries. He was rushed to a nearby hospital, where he was placed under critical observation. The news of the 9th Mile attack spread rapidly, causing fear to grip nearby communities. The Vikings did not stay quiet for long. In what seemed like a direct retaliation, they mobilized and went after 2 individuals they claimed were Blackaxe members in the same 9th Mile area. During the attack, one of the men lost his life immediately, while the second narrowly escaped. By this point, it had become clear that both groups were caught in a cycle of revenge that was destroying more lives than anyone could count. Each attack only led to another, and the streets of Enugu were no longer safe for ordinary people who had nothing to do with the feud. Businesses continued to shut down early, parents warned their children not to stay out late, and fear became a normal part of daily life. The tragic events in Enugu served as a bitter lesson that confraternity clashes bring nothing but pain, loss, and endless sorrow. The deaths of young men on both sides, and even innocent people, prove that there are no true winners in such conflicts. Every hit only deepens the wound, and every act of revenge only takes another life that could have been saved. Let this be a strong message to every young person: say no to cultism, say no to violence, and say no to criminal activities. These paths only lead to destruction and suffering. Choose peace, choose progress, and most importantly, choose life.